Hi, Tim.
Hi, Manifa. How are you?
Good, thanks. Can you tell me about your hockey journey?
Yes, yeah, of course. So yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, a non-traditional hockey location, probably. Maybe not so much now, but back when in the Stone Ages when I grew up. And from there, played youth hockey and high school hockey there, and then uh, from there, I was fortunate to get an opportunity to go to a prep school in Lake Placid called Northwood School. So I was a postgraduate student, 1 year after high school there, and that gave me the exposure and the development opportunity to get recruited by college hockey teams. And I chose Hamilton College in upstate New York, a Division II NCAA team at that time, and had a great experience. And from there, I played 2 seasons over in Europe, which was great. Uh, and then came back and started teaching at a public school, which was a great experience. Having said that, I missed the competitive side of teaching. Good coaching is really, a form of great teaching. So I took a job at Middlebury College as an assistant coach with Bill Beanie back when he was turning the program around to become a national power. I thought I had something to do with it, but then, you know, five NCAA titles later, I realized I was just a footnote there for 2 years. But that was a fun experience, and that really got me hooked on the college coaching, working with Bill. And then I was fortunate to go to University of Maine as a graduate assistant. So I got my master's degree at University of Maine, working with Sean Walsh, another legendary coach, and Grant Stanbrook, his assistant coach. So, and that experience led me to get a job with Bruce Crowder, another legendary coach at UMass Lowell, former Boston Bruin. And so my training up through was, I was just really fortunate to be with some great coaches. Then I got the head coach when Bruce moved on to Northeastern. I got the head coaching job at UMass Lowell for 5 years, and then the head coaching job at University of Maine for 12 years. And then 8 years ago, my wife and I moved to New Hampshire to take the position at Kimball Union Academy. We've been there ever since. Both of our kids, Natalie and Zach, have both graduated from KUA, playing hockey there. And my wife teaches in the public school in Vermont, and I work at KUA. And so that's been our journey in short
So
term.
Kimball Union is a fantastic program. So why prep school for the average player that's out there? Why prep school?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because depending on where you grow up, you may not know much about prep school hockey. So it used to be mostly the Northeast and the Midwest, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, that kind of area for hockey and prep school hockey too, mostly Northeast. Um, but that's changed. Why prep school hockey? I think the biggest reason is because if your goal is to play NCAA college hockey, prep school is going to increase the number of schools that can recruit you, right? So there's only 60 Division I college hockey programs, NCAA programs in the whole country. 60. That's it. There's only 90 Division III programs. There's no more Division II. So that's been eliminated. So 60 D1s, 90 Division IIIs. So that's 150 potential landing spots. And yet there's thousands and thousands of players, youth players out there that all want to play college hockey. So prep school really narrows your scope so that college coaches know if you're going to a prep school playing hockey, clearly you want to play NCAA college hockey. So they know when they go as a college coach, we used to go everywhere to see players. Europe, finding a Gustav Nyquist, or Western Canada to find a Dustin Penner, or so all over the U.S. But it's changed now. There's so many more players. Youth hockey has continued to expand and expand and expand because of the growth of the NHL across the country. So there's so many more potential college hockey players, yet the college hockey has grown very little. With 60 D1 teams and only 90 Division III, if your son's favorite sport or daughter's favorite sport was soccer, football, basketball, baseball, softball, you'd have hundreds of college programs to pick from. It's still very competitive to get there
Mhm.
because more kids are playing those sports. But college hockey is such the pyramid so small at the top that prep school offers you an opportunity to expand the number of those 60 and 90 that can actually say, hey, I can get that kid admitted and he's prepared to play for our team and he's eligible.
Mm.
So that's probably the biggest reason if your kid's favorite sport is hockey is to expand their choices.
Right, absolutely. So now you've had 8 seasons with Kimball Union. Each season you've earned a spot in the postseason, and you won the Elite Eight at NEPSAC 3 years in a row. Incredible. So, what's your secret to finding players, and what can a young player do to get on the prep school radar?
Yes, great question. And we get that a lot. I get emails every day, several a day with from parents and from kids saying, hey, I'd love to come to Kimball Union or look at it, and I think the biggest thing, number one is obviously to do well academically so that we can admit you, that's number one. Like do well in, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth grade, 10th grade, whenever you think you're going to land at prep school. That's clearly the biggest. It's very similar to, as I'm talking about the advantages of prep school, to go to college, you're becoming an attractive candidate because as I watch video of that recruit, I know, okay, this student, they want to be, they want to be in school. Okay, number one, and their family values education if they want to go to prep school, and they want to invest in it. And there's financial aid as well, and we can talk about those things too. But um, I think the key is this is for us. What can you do? Video is key. So regardless, we're fortunate at our place, just with my background, we get some referrals from college coaches, from NHL scouts and all that. But the majority of our kids are contacting us, right? Or we're seeing them on video. And in a non-COVID year, we may see them in person. And after the game, I go up to your son Mackay and say, he's a player. Like, how are you doing? Are you a good student? And where do you want, what's your goal? Do you want to play NCAA? And so on. So the, I'd say the most important thing would be for parents and kids that are interested in college hockey is to research prep school hockey and make sure they're doing well academically, but then to send us some video. So if you're interested in a prep school, send the head coach some game video because in the end, you can send us references and recommendations and all that stuff, but in the end, we'll need to see you play. And video is the quickest way now to do that.
Fantastic. So now last season I read you have 5 commits, 5 college commits, Division One, 2 OHL drafts, one NHL drafted player. With that being said, are more players getting college commit offers and drafted from prep school? And if you think so, why?
Yeah, I think prep schools have resurged. They were huge back when I was growing up, like as an avenue to get to college hockey exposure, especially for kids from non-traditional areas, like I mentioned. It's resurged. And I think the biggest reason is because, again, there's so many potential players, right? That you have to do something to distinguish yourself. You need to be a good student. So now, if we're at a tournament and there's, let's say, 50 college coaches at these Christmas tournaments, you know, we're looking and if we're watching prep school hockey, we know, hey, at least all these kids are going to be eligible, right? So the percentage of you never have that conversation after a game when you watch a prep school with their coach of saying, so is he a good student? Was he going to be eligible? Oh no, I don't think so. Like very unusual for that, right? So that question doesn't have to be asked, right? In the end, depending on what school you're recruiting from, it's going to be a factor of how good is that student. But the excitement about prep school, the reasons, as you said, so many kids are being committed from prep school uh, and even drafted in the NHL is because um, these kids are eligible, number one, and they develop on a daily basis, right? So we're on the ice every day for 90 minutes a day. We're in the weight room, uh, preseason 4 times a week, during the season twice a week, even 3 times if we don't have another game that week, postseason 4 times. But our kids, even in COVID, for example, this year, we've been on the ice every day since September 14th. So that's 90 minutes a day with 3 coaches getting better, and getting those touches of the puck that help you get better versus just game time. We have a lot of games too, but we can talk about that as well.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
So if a player wants to consider prep school, what's the age do you think they should start seriously thinking about it? And what initial steps do you think they should take?
yeah. As far as age, it really depends on the kid. As you know, as a parent, every kid develops at a different pace, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. So there's no perfect, I wouldn't say there's a perfect year to come to prep school, but I would say the majority of kids that we get at KUA and the other top programs, they're kids that are heading into their 10th or even 11th grade year. Sometimes they'll reclassify to get an extra year of school. And the reason, if you hear about that, like, oh, do you have to repeat a grade? Or, once you start researching this, you hear a lot of kids, repeat a grade where they don't take any of the same class. They really reclassify. So it gives them an extra year in school. The reason they do that, or not all, but some do that, is because in hockey, again, because the pyramid of college hockey is so narrow at the top. This is why all these junior leagues have grown, because to fit players in that top of that, you have to keep playing. So as a parent, if you're like, well, my kid is probably going to play 1, 2, or even 3 years after high school to get to college hockey, well, I might as well at least have one of those extra years in school. This is where the postgraduate or the repeat, so-called reclassify year comes in. But to get back to your original question of what year is the best time to start looking, as a parent, I would say, you know, ninth grade, 10th grade, that kind of thing. As a kid, it's really, how quickly do they get interested? What exposure do they have to that? What friends do they know that went to prep school, or acquaintances, kids they played in tournaments with? I would call them. That kid could call his buddy. The parent could call the parent. Hey, I heard you went off to Kimberly Academy. How was the experience? What was the hockey like? What was the school like? Has it expanded their educational profile, their athletic profile? Did they have a great experience? What was the day like? And so doing research like that would be really important. And I would say, but in general, the average age that we get for our team is like 10th grade or 11th grade. We rarely get a 1 year player just at our school. There are some that take a lot of PGs, but that's becoming less popular. What's becoming more popular is the kid reclassifying to get that extra year. And as we all know, boys take a little longer to mentally develop up here, so that extra year, as I said, if you know your kid's going to play after high school anyway, 2 or 3 years, well, you might as well have an extra year emotionally and socially and mentally, physically developing before they go and play with a bunch of 18, 19, 20 year olds and hang out with them. So, yeah, I would say that ninth, eighth, maybe eighth. It depends on how keen that kid is about it. But certainly by ninth grade, I would start researching, looking into it to see if it's the right path for you.
Now, since we're talking about that, now what do you think about in terms of financial aid? So is financial aid readily available for people that, are interested and may not have the full money
Ability.
to pay?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So most of the prep schools are it's very similar to the college process. So if you've had a child that's going to college, or you've gone to college yourself, or that kind of thing. So it's you apply for admission, but you also apply for financial aid. Okay. There's that top group that knows they won't qualify. So we tell them, don't, as far as top group financially, we say, don't bother applying because you're not going to qualify. So it's need based. Prep schools don't offer athletic scholarships. So, but they offer need based financial aid which is, which obviously allows kids to go to prep school and eventually to college that haven't had that opportunity financially, so it really is a great route to go. Just like you do in college application process, you fill out a financial aid application to an independent group. It's called Student School Services, SSS. And in college, it would be FAFSA, FAFSA. So it's the same process. An independent group will then take that financial information from the family and say, okay, the expected family contribution for the Smith family is, let's say, 10,000 a year or 20,000 or whatever that family could contribute based on how many children they have, their salaries of the parents, other kids maybe in college, et cetera. So very similar to the college process, they're going to evaluate that and then determine here's the expected family contribution. Each prep school then can offer more or less that same, the exact amount. It's up to each school to determine that based on need and also based on the student athlete's qualifications. Better the student, quite frankly, because we don't offer athletic money, but we do offer some merit money for strong students. And as a result, you get a strong student that gets a certain amount of financial aid plus then some academic money. And all of a sudden, it becomes very affordable when you consider the money you're spending on travel hockey, and, gym memberships and feeding your kid. Prep school's one-stop shopping. It's you roll out of bed, the gym's right there. Then you go down the hill and hey, there's the cafeteria, all you can eat. Then the rink is right next to the cafeteria, and then the classrooms and, small class sizes, your kids really developing. So you really do get a lot for your money there. And financial aid is a big part of that. And it is definitely available at all prep schools.
Okay, fantastic. This is my last question.
Yeah.
As a coach with a track record of success, if you can give three pieces of advice to a young player, what would it be?
Yeah. Wow. Great question. So, yeah, first of all, is become a great student, right? Because it expands your opportunities. If you want to play college hockey, you got to become a great student athlete, and that will expand the number of coaches. As I said, to get back to that image of, 50, 60 coaches at a tournament, how many of those coaches can actually recruit you? Because I can tell you over the years as a college coach, so many times I'd go up to the coach after the game and he'd be like, hey, Coach Whitehead, what do you like out there? Well, I like number 10, number 15, number 20. How good students? Well, oh, number 20, he's a great student. He could go anywhere. Okay, great. Yeah. Can I have his contact stuff? Number 15, he's okay. I said, well, who else do you have? Like, that's how quickly the conversation, no, he's just an average student. Okay, test scores, but, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to narrow the pool somehow. And that's, I was working at a state school. So you can imagine the process for an Ivy or one of those aspirational academic schools, which is uber competitive. But the same process happens. So number one would be continue to become the best student you can, because it will expand your opportunities for prep school, for college hockey. You can keep going in hockey. And as a parent, you're like, hey, if that keeps them excited about school, if hockey keeps them excited, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's how I feel. If that's your passion and that keeps your kid excited about keeping their grades up and going to college, what a great way to do it, whether it's soccer, hockey, basketball, whatever. So that's number one, as far as what should, three things they should do. Number two would be, find some good mentors, coaches, family, friends, obviously your parents, you know, and work with your parents and these mentors to eh, find some, find some choices, like you were talking about, like research prep school hockey, research these AAA programs. They're not, there's some great AAA programs that really put a lot of effort into the academic development of their kids, as far as they don't travel as much or they only travel to certain tournaments over vacation, like, so use those mentors and friends, like I mentioned, kids that have already gone to prep school, that kind of thing, parents of those kids, do that research. And, and then the last piece would probably be just, you know, do your own research, like get online. There's some really good opportunities for the kid to drive the process. Like there's one called USHR.com, that's US Hockey Report.com. There's another one, Neutral Zone. There's a lot of um, sites now, websites that do promote prep school hockey and the opportunities there. And they have, the coaches, all like the USHR one has every, all six, there's over 60 New England prep schools that have hockey. That's a lot of opportunity. That's just in New England. Then you have other ones all over, but they have all the coaches' names, the rosters, where they get kids from. So you can kind of do, how many Canadian kids, how many US, are they just from Boston? Are they, like we're kind of, we love the fact that we have kids from everywhere. As you know, we have one from Brooklyn, we have one from Arizona, we have two from North Carolina, we have, kids from Canada, we had two kids from Czech Republic. We're like, the United Nations of hockey, So it's a really, but not every school's that way. And that's fine. There's day schools, as you know, also like day schools that offer very competitive hockey. So it's not just boarding schools. There are lots of prep school opportunities that will lead to college hockey. They're not all boarding. So those are my thoughts. Number one was academics. Number two is to get some mentors in addition to your parents that have some connections there, so you learn more. And then the third one is to just start doing some research. Talking to friends and family and getting online. Whether it's USHR.com or another source, and just start gathering information, and then eventually, visiting schools is important. It's not just the facilities, really the people that can make the difference.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's great. I mean, I think that's the full spectrum of really if somebody is thinking about prep school hockey and what are the benefits. I think I mean, for me, it's all upside. I mean, I'm from prep school, so
Yes,
I think
yes,
having been a prep school kid, I'm always more, pushing towards prep school anyway.
yeah.
But great. That's everything. That's really a good nugget of information that you gave to me. So
Well, thanks. Well,
I
thank you.
appreciate, yes.
Yeah, Monifa, thank you, because this is great. This avenue of, for this is, you're bringing exactly what, needs to happen for kids, for parents and kids to be exposed and realize, wow, there's a whole nother world out there that really is a quicker path and a more secure path to college hockey. And, we forgot to even talk about, we, can't get to everything, but, if your kid gets in, we have kids that are injured right now on our team. And instead of doing online classes and trying to stay involved with a tier one program that isn't even at their school, and now they're no longer at school, our kids are in class every day with only 10, 12 kids in a class. They're training with our athletic trainer to rehab. Everything's still one stop. So their self-esteem isn't just tied to hockey,
Right.
so as so they're developing all these, they're putting hockey in the right perspective. And again, they're playing, real high level hockey, but when they get injured or, something like now, if they were quarantined for 2 weeks, they're not just, oh, hockey's not, they're in school every day, and they're growing as a person. So I do think that's a huge positive if parents and kids are thinking about prep school. That's
Absolutely, absolutely. And they're also seeing their friends. So it's not like they're
yes,
at home away from everybody.
yes,
They're still interacting in their same core groups,
absolutely.
even though they may be injured or they may be out
Yeah,
of commission. So that's good.
yeah. And they're meeting kids from all over the world, in some cases, but certainly from outside just their area, their town, like you would at public school, for example, um, which really exposes you to a lot of cool things, and it's a great experience.